I'm Lisa Carrico, Program Director for the Missouri Humanities. We are a member-supported organization, and our mission is dedicated to enriching lives and strengthening communities by connecting Missourians with the people, places, and ideas that shape our society. So thank you for joining us for this opening event for our 7th Annual Springfield Symposium, Innovation for the Common Good. Throughout 2024, Missouri Humanities has been hosting our signature series called Missouri Marvels. Through in-person programming like the symposium and digital content, including our signature series podcast, we have been exploring how imagination, innovation, and the humanities can build empathy and create a more just and human-centered future that positively impacts families, communities, and the environment. The theme of this symposium echoes our signature series by illuminating how organizations and individuals in the Ozarks are leveraging creative ideas to implement innovative strategies to strengthen communities and address community challenges and needs. While we were building out this theme, Missouri Humanities and our partners kept finding ourselves coming back to prominent cultural and natural features of the Ozarks, including caves. We found ourselves diving into this idea of how Missouri caves have played vital roles in local culture and community, and how these natural landscapes shape human experiences and traditions. Okay, so we did want to host this program in a cave, and we did call around to caves, but alas, here we are. But we're hoping through an engaging conversation and a musical performance that we can bring you a live cave show experience. So go with it. Close your eyes. Imagine that we're underground. It's about 58 degrees and darker, and you're surrounded by stalactites and stalagmites. Okay, if you've closed your eyes, you can open your eyes for the rest of this. And I'd like to officially welcome you to the Crystal Ballroom Cave. I'd also like to thank our partners, Missouri State University Libraries, the Ozarks Studies Institute, and Missouri Folk Arts for making this event possible. It is my pleasure to introduce our moderator for tonight, Tom Peters. As many of you know, Tom serves as the Dean of Library Services at Missouri State University, the birthplace of Route 66, the Queen City of the Ozarks, and the crossroads of country music. He has been a librarian for 37 years, and he's enamored by the history and culture of the Ozark regions. Tom currently divides his time between Springfield and the tiny town of McClurg in northeast Taney County, Missouri, home of longstanding weekly old-time mountain music jam sessions. It is not a surprise that Tom is very big into music, so let's give Tom a warm welcome.
Thank you, Lisa. The one thing she didn't say is I have no musical talent whatsoever. I cannot sing. I cannot play an instrument at all. So I'm just, I love music. I don't have any training in music, but actually with all of our musicians, I've heard them and I was like, they are good, you know. In my book, they're good. So I'm looking forward to that. So we're going to begin with a panel discussion about caves and culture, broadly defined and understood. And we'll do this for about 45 minutes or so, and then we'll actually have the cave concert for about an hour, and we'll have some Q&A time after the panel discussion. So let me introduce our panelists, and then we'll get started. So on your right, my left, I sound like Cliff Smart at graduation, is Rachel West, who is the founder and fearless leader of eatingtheozarks.com. I first met Rachel when she was doing a foraging meal, And a friend of mine had tickets, and then for a reason, a person had to back out, and she contacted me and said, "Hey, Tom, you want to go to this foraging dinner?" I'd never been to a foraging dinner. I'm old enough to remember Yule Gibbons, and I thought, oh man, this is going to be a lot of roughage and kind of awful. But it's a free meal. So I went and I was blown away, literally blown away with how good it was. And so we've stayed in touch ever since. She's been down to McClurg to help me with my foraging quest, help me identify some sassafras trees so I could make some filet powder for my gumbo. And then she was also involved in the Ozarks program at the Smithsonian Folklife Festival last summer, did a great job. So she's one of our panelists. Next to her is Wayne Glenn, the old record collector, long-standing radio personality, has since retired, prolific writer of books about the Ozarks. 14, is that the number, Wayne? Or,
more or less.
Okay. Sort of almost 14 or a little bit more than 14. I'll tell you, the one that he's done on Ozarks music, this is the truth, Wayne. I don't think I've ever told you this. I have a copy at my desk at work. I refer to it constantly. I actually have a copy at my working desk down in McClurg. I refer to it constantly. It is an invaluable resource about Ozarks music, his book on Ozarks music. So, and he's done other things that are about Nixa and places near to Nixa. He's a very well-read and prolific author about local history. And then right to my left here is Bruce Hershend, who we met we had a phone conversation this morning, and now we finally met for the first time. But I've known of Bruce for years. And I should say, I should have started off with this. I'm not an Ozarks native. I'm an Iowa boy. I've been down here 12 years. So however that fits into your mental model. I'm an outlander, I don't know, a foreigner, a come hither. I love the Ozarks and don't predict the future, but I could easily see myself spending the rest of my life down here. And it's down here because I'm from Iowa. So Bruce is from the Hershend family. He's been involved in many cave adventures in Stone and Taney County, I'm guessing is kind of your area. And so we've got three people on our panel who are smarter than the average bear, as I like to say at MSU, about caves. So let's get started. So Rachel, so you do meals in caves. I know you've done Crystal Cave a couple of times at least. And I've never been to one of your cave meals, but it sounds like it's a challenge to get the food to the cave, keep it warm, keep it cold.
For sure. So we decided to start doing cave dinners because my yurt meals, we were meeting at the Forest Garden Yurts for a couple years, and it's a screened-in wooden tent, basically. And so come late June, you're not really wanting to sit around and eat out of cast iron skillet with me. You're sitting there fanning, looking at me. And so the creative side of me was like, what do I do in February? What do I do in July? And so I had driven past Crystal Cave and saw that it had been for sale. So I wrote to them and told him that I was doing these yurt dinners. Well, the owner came out to one, I guess, secretly, and then agreed that the meal would be something that would be happening in theirs. And so we talked about the planning, and so they let me have access the night before. And so I have a crew that will go in, and one of the girls who I work with, her name's Amanda Francis. She owns the Forest Garden Yurts, and so she has the tables and the chairs, and so she carries those. We carry them all the way down. There's steps that go down and around. We measured out all the areas to figure out how many tables and all of that other. And then it's basically catered in, and so it's all hot held like how you have pizza. But I do have burners that I put at the top. So in February, if I'm serving you soup or coffee or something like that, I can cook it right outside in the snow and then carry it down so it's still boiling hot. Look, Ma, no hands. But we do bamboo and compostable and things like that, because I do try to make sure that we're very mindful of no glass and things like that in the cave. But it's really easy to be creative when you're in such a beautiful setting to figure out how to make it work. And so our solution for hot food was cast iron skillets in that 68 degree. So we have coolers that we will hold the little mini cast iron skillets, and so your portions are getting pushed into a hot cast iron, and then we're carrying them out to your table and setting them so that your food is still hot. So, did I answer that one? I know you started in with like just a very easy question. I was like, hold on, you got to know the whole story.
No, that's great. So I know Wayne, so I'll start with a little bit of the history and then Wayne can correct me or amplify. So back in the 60s, so I'm a nut about the Ozark Jubilee, and so everything revolves around the Jubilee. So when the Jubilee ended in 1960, and then the 5-star Jubilee for a few months in 1961, and then it kind of just, it fell apart, it ended. And a guy named Lloyd Evans knew that there was a need for, and I call them hillbilly variety shows, because back in the 20s when country music got started in radio and really kind of monetized it, they called it hillbilly music. And so I call them hillbilly variety shows is because that's really what they are. And so Lloyd decided he was going to start a hillbilly variety show that he called Farmerama, which is, like a brilliant name, I think. And then he decided to have it in a cave. And so it went for maybe 5 years, 6 years, pretty much spring to fall. And I'm going to kind of leave it at that, but I'm going to tell a real quick story. So my interest in caves goes way back, but not to Iowa, because there aren't many caves in Iowa. But it's ramped up successively as I learn more about cave culture and what happens, the different things that happen in caves. But the thing that got me going, really revved up, is I was out at Wayne Glenn's collection in his garage, and he had a poster of Buck Owens and the Buckaroos playing in the cave as part of Farmerama. And so I was like, whoa, Buck Owens and the Buckaroos came all the way from Bakersfield, California to play in a cave. I wish I could have been there. So why don't you take it from there, how this all came to pass?
Well, without going into too much detail, what he has said about the Jubilee closing out in, we'll say 61 totally, Lloyd Evans was the Farm Service Director at KWTO, which was connected to the Jubilee. And then he actually switched over to KGBX, a different radio station, both in Springfield. And from the early 50s through the early 70s, Lloyd was a promoter. In other words, he didn't make enough money as a DJ, as an announcer, as a farm service director to be satisfied with what he was making. And so he came up with the idea of on-the-road touring musicians. And he got together a lot of local people who were very talented, and some of them went on to success, a lot of them did not. But if your event was going on in Branson or Forsyth or Marshfield or wherever, and you needed entertainers, then Lloyd's group would be there. And a couple of the guys that worked with Lloyd from the early 50s into the 60s were the Presleys. We're talking about Lloyd Presley and then his son, Gary Presley, Herkimer. And they were with Lloyd. And the Playboys, Presley had the Playboys, and they were 4 or 5, the Luttrell boys. The Luttrells were with him. And in 62, Lloyd started the Farmerama show at the Lyric Theater on Commercial Street in Springfield. About the same time, and you may know, do you know what year Trimble's actually bought Fantastic Caverns?
Nope.
I'm sure it was about that time, about 1961, 62. Mark Trimble, his mother's name was Mary, okay? They bought Fantastic Caverns out northwest of Springfield. And of course, who knows exactly how it came about, but I'm sure that Mark Trimble, a promoter that he was, had the suggestion that he might do, his big room there was large enough for entertainment. And you were saying to me off camera, off mic, maybe 500 people?
500 people at a time.
So that 500 is enough for a crowd. So Lloyd transfers from the Lyric Theater over to Fantastic Caverns in 1963. He was able to convince Don Daly, who was the manager of KGBX, that if he could find advertisers, could they get an engineer to come out on Saturday nights and tape the show and then air the show on KGBX and maybe some other stations? Well, that's exactly what happened. And so Lloyd was able to get people like Buck Owens, Bobby Bare, Bobby Lewis, Jimmy Martin, and lots of names of country entertainers, some of which were major stars in the 1960s. Buck Owens was a major star when he came to Fantastic Caverns. And that worked for a while. Meanwhile, in the same year, 1963, a man by the name of Herman Mead, that gets into his territory. Herman Mead decided that he ought to have a show in his cave, which was the Underground Theater, and he got a guy named Bob White. Bob White was connected to Slim Wilson, Speedy Hallworth, and those guys from the Ozark Jubilee days. He was able to get Bob White to get together people to entertain in the Underground Theater near Branson West. That was, both events were in 1963, so this went on for a number of years. Now, I've said enough for right now. You can ask me more questions later.
Okay. Well, since you mentioned Mead Cave, so, well, actually, before we get to Mead Cave, Bruce, we were talking about Marvel Cave, and just kind of a thumbnail history of Marvel Cave. And at one point, they had square dances down in Marvel Cave. They had a series of them, and they were kind of tied in with the Ozark Jubilee, correct? I think Red Foley might have been down in Marvel Cave at one point. But they'd have square dance competitions down in Marvel Cave, correct?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
I'm in the middle of all of this, and I'm loving it. I was an oblivious kid growing up at Silver Dollar City and in Marvel Cave, and so I didn't get to do a lot, but I had to forage for my dinners as a kid.
Out of a hot air balloon, I've seen the hot air balloons in the cave.
A crystal cave that you've served people in. My son Duncan is running, and is the person that you get to work with there. The family is still spread out into different caves in the area. I got the old Presley's Theater after they were done with it.
Right.
With Mead Cave, and
Right.
Please do not show up. My wife hates uninvited guests, and we live right over the cave. But after Mead Cave was done with the Presleys, and they figured out that yes, in fact, people in the area would listen to country music and some comedian trying to talk at night. Sure enough, we think this formula will work. They moved out and spent the money on air conditioning. God gave them the first theater's air conditioning. It was pretty nice. Pretty cold by the end of the show there. What you don't know is the local kids decided after the Presleys left that was the party spot. Yeah. And when I went back out there years later, thinking about helping some Boy Scouts spend the night in there, the beer cans were knee deep.
Oh my goodness.
In a room about this big. I mean, they had really been serious about putting those cans down, and they had thrown rocks and broken just about every formation that they could get to. Now, that would be terrible to most people.
Yeah.
But I'm on the board of a conservation group, and I got photos to take all the time of this is what happens when people vandalize caves. Great examples around me. So anyway, I did not speak well to where you started me. Marvel Cave. I do want to tie in one other time in the Ozarks when folks were foraging in a cave. And they were actually getting the food that was in the cave to eat.
Bats?
No, a cow. A cow got confused by somebody's dog and accidentally slipped down the sinkhole in Marvel Cave. Now, one of the themes that's going to come up here tonight is that cave owners and cave guides and the crew are very ingenious about trying to get out of work, but they end up doing a lot of work. And so when the cow fell in, one of the guys had the brilliant idea, instead of them having to get the cow out of there, they'd invite all of their neighbors to come in and have some free steak. So you're supposed to bring your own gunny sack. If you wanted to eat in the cave, you had to bring some firewood with you. And they set up a fire and they butchered the cow right there. And it turned out to be not saving them a lot of work, because taking a half butchered cow carcass out was just about as bad as the whole cow would have been. But foraging in a cave, that was a pretty good story. You asked about square dancers, so I'll touch on that and then let somebody else talk here. When TV was young, and you can correct me on some of this story because I was busy foraging in the park and not paying much attention.
You weren't even born.
As a youngster, but from what I've heard from some of the old guides is that the TV cameras when this was young was about the size of a refrigerator. This was no small task getting this in and out. About the same size as a cow, I guess. And the idea of trying to come up with content for those TV shows. What can we do with all these televisions in all these people's homes? And folks fell in love with watching square dancing. And the Ozarks Jubilee was big in the area and had a huge following, and everybody just loved the square dancing. Well, can you imagine how much work it would be to carry down all the lumber to create platforms so you could have 9 squares dancing at a time, bleachers for the people who are tuckered out and watching or have no talent like me, and all the lighting that they had to bring in so it was not like for them. It was a lot of work. The band, I'm told, had the worst platform. Thank you guys for always picking the tough assignment. But yeah, fun days in the early. And most of my knowledge of that story came from taking breaks while we were still carrying in the 80s and 90s the wood out from those platforms that they had left in the cave. So a lot of work.
So Marble Cave also, my understanding is that originally it was called Marble Cave because they thought that the ceiling was marble. And then, well, you tell the rest of the story. They were going to make lots of money.
Oh yeah,
harvesting this marble out of the Marble Cave.
One of the first couple of folks that explored the cave and made it all the way to the second room noticed a very flat ceiling, and they assumed that it was marble, and so they told a lot of people that, and nobody really came down to check until they had created the Marble Cave Mining and Manufacturing Company. The 17 owners or something like that had raised capital and spent it on mining equipment, and they had rigged up a very elaborate trapeze to get the buckets up and down, buckets big enough that we could sit in. You know, they were going to haul out marbling, and then they found out there was no marble down there. Yeah. And so the guys are trying to figure out what are we going to do, and they were laughing at the one guy that was sitting in a pile of guano over there and thought, wait a minute, that might be an opportunity. And so back guano, and there was a lot of it, 25 feet deep in two different rooms in the cave, completely blocked off passages to other parts of the cave they didn't know about until they removed the guano. But $700 a ton back in those days was a lot of money, at least enough to recoup the cost of a whole bunch of mining equipment. So that's where that one comes from.
So I got a question. Does guano stink?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay. So
Have you
Did
had
you grow
much
up on a
guano in
farm?
your?
if anybody's
So there's a 2-story saltpeter cave. So guano is saltpeter used as an ingredient. So, but there is a 2-story on the Niangua that I go into, and I only enter in the summertime when bats are not hibernating. But it's very, very sticky, but it has some really beautiful red clay. But there's old mining marks up in the 2nd story where they would pull all the guano and stuff down from where it would just pile up, apparently.
So if you're keeping score, we've got 25 feet of bat guano and 4 feet of beer cans from all those. Not in the same cave, not in the same room, but a lot of stuff down there.
Humans are the worst species.
Yeah.
And 1,000 feet of cable to get that TV signal out of the cave. While you're adding the numbers there, I just thought I'd toss that one in.
Yeah, so by the end of the night when we're doing the cave dinners, our legs are shaking and we're up at the top going, I will never again eat cheesecake. I will never again. Like, cause it's 10, you're carrying tables up and you're like, why did we not ask? Why didn't I comp tickets for somebody just to carry their chair when they left? Like, hey, don't worry about that tip. You can take the chair with you. Just take your plate, have it forever.
So there's a long history of dinners down in caves. I mean, they were doing back in the
I don't know.
1920s and,
I can't find very many historical dinners in a cave. I could find dancing and I could find music. As far as dinners, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I
So
know I
where's it
hosted
go? They're successful, right?
Yeah.
You sell out.
We host between 30 and 40, but I don't just do dinners. We've also, there's always food related. Take one look at me. But we've done a cranky in a cave. So a cranky is like the old 1800s movies, traditionally with candlelight, and it's on a screen film. And so Sandy Baker makes them and had Charlie Becker sing in the cave and perform Lady Margaret. And then we were hoping this summer to have Sad Daddy do their presentation with their cranky that they wrote with Sandy. And so it's really cool because in the 1800s, that was the very first movies that were actually shown, and I could find historical parts where crankies were shown in the Ozarks, and I couldn't find anywhere where anybody had ever done one in a cave. And with all of the advertisements from square dancing and hot air balloons, I was like, I'm doing a cranky in a cave. That's going to be my feather in my hat. And so, but it's so cool because I get to work with two different artists, both Sandy and then the musical Charlie, and be able to have that musical poetry in a cave over a meal. So yeah.
And so that's an innovation. That's a cultural innovation right here in the Ozarks.
There you go.
Cranky in a cave. Back to the dinners. Are they? Do other cave states, Kentucky? Do they have?
I've seen other dinners. There's
in-
other people definitely who do a dinner in a cave, but I don't know here locally.
Is it kind of a growth industry? Would you say? That,
Oh goodness, who knows? I'm way too feral to ever follow a trend.
Okay, well, time is slipping by here. I got a question for Wayne. So I'm a Ozark Jubilee nut. My favorite comedian is Goo Goo Rutledge on the Jubilee, but Uncle Sipe and Aunt Sap are a close second. And after the Jubilee era, into the mid-'60s, they were quite elderly then, living down in Texas, South Texas, and they came up to perform on Farmerama, and one of the people at the table actually picked them up, I guess at the airport or the train station, and took them out to Fantastic Caverns. So, Wayne, tell us what happened that night.
I was an intern working for Lloyd Evans in 1965. He let me be on his radio show. I wasn't being paid anything at all. I was doing this in the summer of '65. Graduated from high school in '65 at Nixa, and then was going to start the MSU in the fall of 1965. And so I asked him if I could work for him, and he graciously agreed to let me follow him around with the DJing and then going to Fantastic Caverns on Saturday night. Of course, I was able to drove my own car out to the Fantastic Caverns, and so Lloyd asked me one day, he said, now, Sipe, Brassfield, Uncle Sipe and Aunt Sap, man and wife, in their 65 to 75 year range at the time, they're going to be coming in from Texas. They're going to stay on with some friends on North Washington because they had lived in Springfield when the Jubilee was going in the 50s. They had lived here, so they had friends here, and they were going to stay on North Washington near Drury College. Go over again, here's the address, go by and pick them up and bring them on out there, and then they'll entertain, or at least Uncle Sipe will, at Fantastic Caverns that Saturday night. So I did that, and I actually just had a 1958 Impella Chevy car, and I was told that I didn't necessarily need to go to the door. This was a big house on North Washington, one of those big homes, and just park and at a certain time, and they'd come out, which they did. And he was especially frail. He was not ancient, but he was in his late 60s, and he had had quite a life. and a comic all the way, but here he comes walking out, barely getting out there, and she's kind of helping him. They'd been married for many years. He was an old vaudevillian. They both were vaudevillians. They traveled all over the place. They were originally, he was from Mississippi. Uncle Sipe was. He was in World War I, so they were old enough to be my grandparents, and because I'm 18 years old at the time. And I thought, I don't see how in the world he's going to be able to entertain 500 people or whatever the crowd was going to be that night, but they'd build him. I mean, he was going to be on the show. That's what the idea was, of course, why they were in town. And he was fine to talk to. I had a nice visit with him. Talked about Moon Mulligan, who was an entertainer that they knew and everything. So we get out there, and I help him. And, of course, she's helping him get into the cave. As some of you have been to Fantastic Caverns know, it's a nice little walk. There's jeeps and all that, but I think he walked it. And then he got backstage, which there wasn't much of a backstage, but there was a kind of a curtain or something behind the rocks maybe. And he just sat there. And again, I'm wondering how he's going to make it. And as is so true of the show must go on, when Lloyd Evans introduced him, he came out, he was as sprightly as he could be. He told stories about what was going on in the news that day. He'd read the newspaper. His comic things what he was talking about were contemporary, partly, and then of course partly old jokes mixed in. He was as sharp as he could be. And it was an enjoyable thing for me to get the chance to meet them, because I'd seen him on the Jubilee so many times, and he died within a year of that. He died in 1966 back in Texas. She was older than he was to start with, and she outlived him by many years, and she also passed away. Her real name was Neva. His real name was Lamar, and they were down in Texas when they both passed away. I wanted to mention something else, and this it'd be great, Tom, someday, some group. Have you ever interviewed Gary Presley yourself?
No.
Of the Presley Show. See, as he alluded to, Gary Presley and the Presleys were on Fantastic Caverns show that we've been talking about, but they were also on the Underground Theater show. In 1964, 65, 66, those two shows were going on at the same time part of the time, and the Presleys were on both. And so Gary, I know, would have some very interesting stories about life with the Bats.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, Bruce, a question for you. Actually, a question for all three panelists. Cave phobia exists, I guess. Have you ever had anybody come down for a meal or come down to a cave and they just freak out? Like, I gotta get out of here.
Oh, no, not for me.
Go ahead, I don't
Goodness.
have any.
They know what they're getting into with me.
I guess if they're gonna freak out, they're gonna freak out before they get too far into the cave.
I'm terrified most of the time while I'm
You fought
Actually,
through it.
here in Springfield, there was someone doing a class on phobias, and folks were able to sign up and be a part of this. And there were fear of heights and fear of enclosed. And I got an opportunity to take the group in the evening for what ended up being the final class. And it took us 2.5 hours to get to the second room in the cave. But when we got there, everybody was hugging everybody, and there were tears, and they just felt so good that they had addressed their phobias, and nobody was pushed or hounded. Everybody was allowed to take the time you need to get in there. So cave phobia is a real thing, but it's usually triggered by other phobias that folks would already have.
I have one of those of bears.
Bears? Bears.
Oh yeah,
Especially cave bears.
I've walked up on a bear, and yeah, now I have cave phobias of cave bears, but not of the cave itself. Just things that like to live in them.
I was caving one time with a pistol on my hip, and I'm not a gun person, and they caught me when I was coming out of the cave and said, "What in the world are you doing caving with a gun?" It was a cave in February, and there were several active bear beds in the cave, and I just had this really big loud thing to scare them with, because I'm not going to be able to hit anything.
I just figured we were after the same red clay. It was a good color.
Bruce, a question for you. So most caves need to be developed, right? I mean, if when you discover a cave, it's not like ready to open up. You gotta I've been in a lot of caves. I've been in that many caves, but most caves have they poured concrete stairs in there, and they put in railings, and they put in electricity, and they've enhanced the entrance in some way so it's more accessible. Tell us about what's kind of responsible or irresponsible cave development so that you respect the cave, but you're still making it a show cave.
Fantastic caverns being fairly flat always gets joked around about, well, you picked the easy one to develop. But they weren't able to take you very far into the cave until they decided to build a couple of bridges. Mm-hmm. And when the cave floods the lower levels all the way up and covers all of the place the Jeeps drive, it can be quite a mess. So even fantastic caverns who had it easy worked awfully hard. It's an awful lot of work to be this lazy that you can just drive a Jeep through a cave. Talking Rock's cavern is the opposite. It was vertical, and one of the caves that never should have been open to the public. It was a lot of work, but things there are kind of out of scale, and it inspired the Powell family. Ended up being good friends with my father, and they ran two caves side by side, so they were friendly competitors. When they went to Chicago to stir up business, they'd go together. And as they got closer and closer to home, they got more and more competitive. It's like, I'm going to get that highway sign location, So they were friendly competitors when they got to town. So some of them were none of them were easy to develop, and the cave constantly tries to attack anything that we take in there. Like electric lighting and things that folks have gotten accustomed to. So yes, it's an awful lot of work. Even folks at Smallin Cave have a big do. We got some friends here from Smallin.
I want to ask a question. Sure. Will you ever develop underground theater or that cave?
In Talking Rocks, no. We've had some music filmed down there. Cave acoustics is another one that we ought to bring up. How was the acoustics for the show that you were?
It was fine. Great.
Pretty good.
There are recordings of the 1960s shows that exist. Hours and hours and hours of those. Lloyd Evans was smart enough to record Buck Owens and different entertainers when they were there and guests, and so there are many hours, and the sound is fine.
I was in a cave in Texas a couple of months ago, and they had 3 ladies singing opera that evening in the cave, which was a little bizarre, and the acoustics were terrible, absolutely horrible. Much like this room is set up, they were singing to the flat wall there behind. And after it was all over and everybody was going up and I was helping carry chairs out, we just had somebody sing a little bit over there, and when they sang this direction, it was spectacular. And so Talking Rocks has really great acoustics, except for one 10-foot square that the sound is just dead. Just terrible.
I think that would have been one of the first things they would have figured out when they wanted to play music down in the cave, is like, where's the best place to...
At Crystal Cave, we put them up on the stairs that go up to the second level. Yeah. Dallas Jones and Mark Barger and Charlie have all played there. And then Bo Brown played in the front room, but like you said, he was talking at the wall, and they said that so that's why we started moving stuff to the back room.
Yeah.
So I think we need to wrap up. Do we have some time for Q&A? A little bit of, let's open it up for some Q&A.
Sorry.
Yes, in the back there, Caitlin McCool.
So I think this question may be primarily for Mr. Hershey, but if anybody wants to answer, that's fine. I've done limited research into the show cave history of Missouri, and obviously in the past the state had many, many show caves that far fewer today that are still open. My impression is mainly that's because of insurance regulations and things, but from your perspective, what do you think the future of the show cave industry in Missouri is? Like, is it going to continue kind of as it is now, do you think, or do you anticipate changes going forward where there are fewer of these options available, like the casual viewer, I guess?
Yeah. Folks used to work a lot harder for their entertainment than they expect to now. You got to work a lot harder to entertain folks. And so the industry is changing a little bit. Back in the 50s and 60s, there was the Great Kentucky Cave Wars. Cave owners hated each other. one guy would buy a place for his highway sign, and then the other guy would buy the 3 feet in front of that and put up their sign, you know. And there'd be somebody in a guide uniform saying, "Oh, I'm sorry that cave's closed today, but if you just go down this road, this is the back entrance," you know. So they were sabotaging. They absolutely hated each other, and something came along that they all hated even worse than each other, and it was Lady Bird Johnson saying she's going to take down all the highway signs. Now, these days, there are some other marketing opportunities and fun little ways to find out where's that darn hole in the ground. But in those days, highway signs to try and direct people was a whole lot easier than moving the cave out to the highway. So cave owners have come to love and respect each other. There are times where I go to Smallin Cave and ask for their help. There are times they'll ask me my advice. I was helping Smallin Cave with the wiring, you know, that elevated walkway. The cave was flooding at the time, so I was sitting on my 5-gallon pickle bucket, reaching underneath the platform, and when I got done with this one, I forgot that the cave was flooded, and I stood up and I started walking over to the next one, and there went my tool bucket downstream as you go. And a crayfish came up and grabbed the end of my tool as I was trying to put up wiring in. But we help each other, we love each other. And to answer your question, finally, at the end of this long ramble, the cave owners are having to be even more innovative than they have in the past. And you guys have gotten a small taste of cave owners had to be pretty innovative to make these hostile environments available to the public. But we're going to get more so. So we're looking at holograms, we're looking at other ways to get people to come back into the story. You know, it used to be you were very involved in exploring the cave. More of that is coming back. How do you get that sense of discovery and not just walk through and listen to somebody else speak about it?
Other questions? Question is, do most caves have bats living inside?
That depends. Do you like bats? Because Talking Rock's Cavern supports one of the only caves in the area that do not have bats, and that's because when we built the gift shop over the cave, we did not give them keys. No, not all caves have bats. Bats are pretty clever. They pick cave that fits their species' needs and requirements. Marvel Cave had 300,000 bats a winter until DDT came along, and they shrunk to 10% of what they once were, and they got even worse after that. Is now starting back on the uprise, just in time for white nose syndrome to come in and get them. But it's very unlikely that you're going to have to get close to or get the opportunity to get up close to. I know in Crystal Cave, they don't necessarily point out the bat that you just walked past.
Oh, I do.
And you do.
Yeah, every time.
And the folks that in Adventure Cave or in Marvel Cave, when I see a bat, if folks are interested in it, I can show you, look, right here you can see him breathing. He's breathing very, very fast. It's because you're here and he's terrified of you. You know, but you can
They
point
prefer
out
to be
some-
really deep in a cave, though. They usually aren't just hanging in the open areas of anywhere that you would just be looking. They're usually up around a corner and out of the wind.
except for pipistrelles in winter, and you find those in the variable temperature zone. And the reason that they're fun to point out is they're wearing a dew jacket. They have little water droplets on the end of each little cluster of hair.
So that's in the winter?
And they use that water jacket to keep them warm in that entry area of the cave. So
That's adorable.
cool, fascinating. 11 kinds of bats native to the area around here.
This is just a cave question, I guess, but cultural. In any of these caves that you're talking about, is there like anthropological evidence of past people living there? Or there art tools, artifacts, things like that that you encounter in caves?
Let me not answer your question by saying, if you went to about Ozark and you drew a circle of 1 hour drive, you'd find more caves open to the public with guided tours, than any other place in the nation.
Huh.
You all do not have any excuse not to be cave experts, you know, because you can visit a whole lot of show caves really, really close at home. And they're very diverse, even though some of them are in the same type of rock and same layers, they can be very, very different. None of the anthropological in the area have survived well. Paleontological,
Yes.
I stuttered over that word, didn't I? Them critters, there's a national top site in Springfield for preserved critters that were in the caves. Short-faced bear. You can see where the bear had his chest up against the mud wall, and he caught a little baby pig as it went by, got one bite out of it before the pig squealed and got away. And Matt down there will show you exactly where the remains of the pig were found. But most caves do not preserve wood or bones or stuff. Smallin Cave has some really outstanding pieces, but it's just hit and miss. You're not getting a whole critter like you are down at River Bluff.
You can also look into the seeds that are found in fires. Columbia University has some really great ones showing that they were actually breeding lamb's quarters and ragweed and using it as a main food source, besides we think of like Cobb Cave and others. But they go through, so look at the charred remains that they found in some of the caves for the food ethnobiology, like the way that there's one on the, what is the, I'm trying to think, I've got too many tabs open, sorry. if anybody's interested in the seed collection from the caves, I have that was pulled up, but it was from the seed catalogs that they were doing when they were moving Native American tribes. And so whoever holds that wing of that seed log is who has that. Sorry, that took way too long to get to. But if anybody's interested in that, I can send you the study because I have it. And Columbia University has where they went into caves and they were studying the charred remains for sure, if you were interested in that rabbit hole.
I was in a cave in Pennsylvania, and I was with that conservation group, and there were a whole lot of folks on the tour smarter than me, and they were talking about the finds deep in the cave that showed that man had gone quite deep into the cave. And these guys were talking about it for way too long, and I was a bored kid, and there was some mud behind me, and so behind my back I was taking and playing with the mud, you know, making different shapes and things, and the conversation switched to, why would they come so deep in the cave? It must have been some kind of religious ceremony or some kind of... And I'm thinking to myself, no, they were just bored kids. You know, it's like I was playing with the mud in the cave. I wonder how far we can get before we die on the way out. So yes, people have used caves, and rarely are there, they left some evidence behind for us to enjoy.
Fire would have been the only way you could have been deep in a cave and seen, though. You're not seeing as soon as you go around a corner.
We have time for one more question, and then I guess we're going to take a break. I forget. You tell me what we're going to do, and I've forgotten. So we'll figure out what we're going to do next. But
I believe we listened to the Springfield Symphony play an opera in Fantastic Cavern.
okay.
Ooh.
So what we've been covering for the last hour is sort of the culture of caves and how it supports human culture in various ways through music and dance and eating and we didn't talk about courtship too much, but there's probably some courtship been going on in caves. I feel a little bit obligated to say that there's kind of the downside to caves too, where I think it's true that the Klan owned Fantastic Caverns for a while. It was caves were used by desperados as hidey holes. I think during the Civil War, having a cave was good for storing munitions and all kinds of strategic things during a time of war. So there is that whole flip side of caves as the lamentable aspects of human behavior. So I want to thank all of our panelists, and so now we got learned up And now we get to have some fun and listen to some good music. I have no idea if our musicians have ever played in caves. I'm sure we'll hear about it. But so let's give a hand to our panelists, and we'll transition to the next one. That's right. It's come back to me now. Lisa Higgins is gonna introduce the next segment here.
Thank you. So I'm Lisa Higgins. I direct the Missouri Folk Arts Program. It's a statewide program that's supported by the Missouri Arts Council, the National Endowment for the Arts. We're based at a museum at the University of Missouri in Columbia, and we serve the entire state. We've had the opportunity over the last few years to partner with Humanities. The cool thing about folk arts in general, traditional arts, is they exist somewhere between the arts and humanities. We're rooted in the past, practiced in the present, sustained for the future. A lot of people think about the lost arts. They call me about, booking something that would happen in 18 whatever. I'm so happy to say that some of my colleagues have drilled into our heads the fact that we think that the folk and traditional arts are some of the most forward-thinking arts that there are, because we're always thinking about keeping it going for the future. You can see just from this group here, we have Emalee Flatness, Lillyanne McCool, Mr. Dennis Pritchard, and they're going to play some music for us. I think we'll notice that we have more than, let's say, more than one generation of musician here, and I'm thrilled about it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Before we start, I'll go ahead and introduce these guys to you. If you would like me to, does that sound good? Mm-hmm. So this is Miss Lillyanne McCool. She's originally from Arkansas, Mountain View, Arkansas to be exact, which is the folk music capital of the world. And boy, folk music sure runs through her veins, because about 3 weeks ago, was that about how long ago it was? 4 weeks ago, she won the Kentucky State Old Time Banjo Championship. In 2018, when she was just 15 years old, she won the National Old Time Banjo Championship. And then you've won 3 other state old time. She's very humble.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyways, and something where she's directly affiliated with Missouri State University. Have you guys heard of the Folklife Festival that just happened in Washington, D.C.? Well, she got to be a big part of that Folklife Festival.
2 weeks.
Yep.
2 weeks in the Capitol was amazing.
Yep. And so that's Miss Lillyanne McCool. Give her a big round of applause. And then this is my great friend, Mr. Dennis Pritchard. And he was born in Branson, Missouri, and lives in Reed Spring, Missouri. And he's played all over the United States, but with lots of different groups here in the Ozarks. He's my favorite old-time fiddler. And we actually met in the Shepherd of the Hills outdoor drama. Has anybody ever read Shepherd of the Hills? Yep. Lovely. And Mr. Bruce, I was just thinking about this. So I play a character named Mandy Ford in the show, and your great-grandmother was Mary Ford, I believe. Is that right?
There was Mary Trimble and Mary Hershon, the 2 Marys.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, so I actually, the other day, I asked your mother. I saw her at Silver Dollar City. I just started working there. And I asked your mother. I had always heard that her great-grandma was the basis for the character Mandy Ford in the novel, and she said yes, she was. Her name was Mary Ford, and she was great friends with Harold Bell Wright. Anyways, so that's where I met Mr. Dennis, and so please make him feel very welcome today. This is Mr. Dennis Pritchard. And I'm Emalee Flatness. Like I said, I just started working at Silver Dollar City, playing with the Homestead Pickers full time. So very exciting. And that's all about me.
Where are you from?
I'm from Willard, Missouri, and I actually studied here at Missouri State University. I studied history and Ozark studies, and I did an internship with the great Tom Peters. And he's been wonderful, just helping me stay immersed in Ozark studies even after I graduated. So I do an oral history program called Songs of the Ozarks on Missouri State University Library's YouTube channel, and it's a blast. Anyway, so this song is an old-time song that's been around for hundreds of years. There's versions of lyrics from the Revolutionary War. This version is from the American Civil War. It's called Soldier's Joy. Well, I don't wanna hurt no more. My legs are turning green. Won't you give me some of that soldier's joy? If you know what I mean. It's $10 for the morphine, $5 for the beer. It's $10 for the morphine, gonna take me away from here. Won't you give me some of that soldier's joy? Don't wanna hurt no more. Won't you pass me down my banjo now? We're cut out for war. It's $10 for the morphine, $5 for the beer. It's $10 for the morphine, gonna take me away from here. Won't you give me some of that soldier's joy? It makes me feel alright. Won't you slow down on that fiddle, man, just like Saturday night? It's $10 for the morphine, $5 for the beer. It's $10 for the morphine, gonna take me away from here. Some of that soldier's joy, if you know what I mean. It's $10 for the morphine, $5 for the beer. It's $10 for the morphine, gonna take me away from here. Thank you. Can you guys hear everything okay? Good, good, good. Well, we'll get Miss Lily to sing you a song now. And this is the most violent gospel song you'll ever hear. Where'd you find this song?
I learned it from my mom, and I don't know where in the world she got it from. So
Her mom is a great steward of Ozark's music. Her name's Miss Crystal McCool. Also from Mountain View, Arkansas. Well, no, not originally.
she has adopted the Ozark ways. She originally from southern Arkansas, and then she moved up and has been baptized in the Ozark tradition. So she's bona fide.
Bona fide. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Before I start, do y'all know what ash cakes are? Ash cakes were this, well, they weren't like a cake, they were more like a brick, but it was a really cheap way to eat grain, essentially. It's just a mixture of flour and water, and you put it in ashes, and that's how you cooked it. But this song talks about heaven and how in heaven ash cakes are going to taste like shortening bread, which back then was really nice because that meant a cookie. But
Nice.
we got to beat the devil to get there, so that's what this song is going to teach you how to do. Well, meadows ain't coming down the lane and him in the hair, the walking cane, and I'm gonna wear that starry crown over there. Over there, over there, I'm gonna wear that starry crown over there. Well, I got no skill and I got no lid, and ash cakes taste like shortening bread, and I'm gonna wear that starry crown over there. over there. Over there, I'm gonna wear that starry crown over there. Well, I got no steel and I got no lid, and ash shakes taste like shortbread bread, and I'm gonna wear that starry crown over there. Well, medals take around this stump, and I give my leg for every jump, and I'm gonna wear that starry crown over there. Over there, I'm gonna wear that starry crown over there. Well, I got no skill and I got no lid, and ash shakes taste like shortbread bread, and I'm gonna wear that starry crown over there. Over there, I'm gonna wear that starry crown over there. Well, I got no skill and I got no lid, and ash shakes taste like shortbread bread, and I'm gonna wear that starry crown over there.
So actually, Lily and I first became really good friends playing together at Silver Dollar City. The best place in the whole wide world, besides Missouri State University.
Good save.
So this tune, it's an old Civil War tune, and the first recorded version was by a fellow from, I think he was from North Carolina, Mr. Frank Prophet in the 1950s. It's one called Going Across the Mountain. Going across the mountain, oh fare you well. Going across the mountain, you can hear my banjo tell. Going across the mountain to join the boys in blue. When this war is over, I'll come back to you. Going across the mountain, oh fare you well. Going across the mountain, you can hear my banjo tell. Got my rations on my back, my powder it is dry. Going across the mountain, Chrissy, don't you cry. Going across the mountain, oh fare you well. Going across the mountain, you can hear my banjo tell. Waiting for it's good daylight and nothing happens to me. I'll be way down yonder in old Tennessee. Going across the mountain, oh fare you well. Going across the mountain, you can hear my banjo tell. Expect you'll miss me when I'm gone, but I'm going through. When this fighting's over, I'll come back to you. Going across the mountain, oh fare you well. Going across the mountain, you can hear my banjo tell. Going across the mountain, oh fare you well. Going across the mountain, you can hear my banjo tell. Do you mind if we drink these waters over here? Okay. I'm gonna get out my fiddle now and we're gonna play some together.
While she's getting that, I'm going to talk a little about this song. This song was originally from Ireland. If you know anything about American folk music, we made our own stuff, but we kind of borrowed a little bit too and kind of claimed it as our own, made it a little bit better, called it American. But this song is called Angelina Baker. Some people call it Angelina the Baker. And sometimes we have the pleasure of Miss Emalee randomly singing on this song because there are words to it, but it's mainly used as an instrumental and as a square dance tune here in the Ozarks. It's one of my favorites I grew up hearing. But she's going to bring out the fiddle and do some twin fiddling.
Well, I guess I don't need this if I'm not going to sing very much. Okay. Who wants to kick it?
Y'all the fiddles.
Well, let's do a little bit of. Oh,
Sorry.
we can do that.
That'd
Let's do Tom Dooley.
Tom Dooley? I like
Does
Tom
that sound
Dooley.
good?
I love Tom Dooley.
This isn't a super Ozarkian tune because it's about the famous guy who was hanged, Tom Dooley. You guys remember the story of him? Oh, okay. Well, he was supposed to have killed a lady named Lori Foster, and he was hanged for it, but a lot of people think he didn't really kill her. Anyways. Huh?
When did it?
Oh, it was after the Civil War, wasn't it? About turn of the century. Well, I don't know. He was supposed to have loved her, I guess. I don't know.
That's how it always goes.
Seems to be a theme in lots of old-time songs. But most of the guys who are murderers in old-time songs are named Willie, so this is an exception to the rule. Okay. That's still really out of tune.
At least we have a little bit modernized instruments. The really old-time instruments were even worse because they didn't have middle strings, they had gut strings instead.
Cat guts.
No kidding. I'm not lying.
Oh, I'm so glad it's not like that anymore.
Me too.
I love my cat.
It's okay. He wouldn't make that much strings anyways.
He's a skinny feller. Hang your head, Tom Dooley, hang your head and cry. You killed poor Lori Foster and you know you're bound to die. You
roadside where you begged to be excused. You left her on the roadside and you hid her clothes and shoes. Hang your head, Tom Dooley, hang your head and cry. You killed Lori Foster and you know you're bound to die. Well, you took her on the hillside and there you took her life. You took her on the hillside for to make her your wife. Well, you dug the grave 4 feet long and you dug it 3 feet deep. You rolled the cold clay over her and tromped it with your feet. Hang your head, Tom Dooley, hang your head and cry. You killed poor Lori Foster and you know you're bound to die. As long as I'm a living, boys, they ain't gonna let me rest. Yeah, I know they're gonna hang me tomorrow, I'll be dead. Though I never even harmed a hair on poor little Lori's head. Hang your head, Tom Dooley, hang your head and cry. You killed poor Lori Foster and you know you're bound to die. Well, at this time tomorrow, where do you reckon I'll be? Way down yonder in the holler, hanging on the white oak tree. Hang your head, Tom Dooley, hang your head and cry. You killed poor Lori Foster and you know you're bound to die. Hang your head, Tom Dooley, hang your head and cry. You killed poor Lori Foster and you know you're bound to die. Thank you! You know do Seneca?
Yes.
And Temperance?
Yes. Those are both in G.
Yeah.
Okay.
These two kids, they've played a lot of square dances over the years, and they're going to play you some square dance numbers right now. You want to tell them about them?
Yeah. So Seneca Square Dance is one that kids learn in my town because we have a program specialized for teaching the young children folk music, American folk music in our schools. This is one of the songs that's considered a baby song because it's a fairly simple tune and people can learn it easily. The amazing thing that happens is similar to a lot of modern music is that you forget about a song because, oh, you're sick of it. I've heard it. Plays on the radio 5 times an hour, you're done with it. Same thing with old time music. It resurfaces years later, and it's just like it's brand new again. We just love this song. This first one's called Seneca Square Dance. We're going to go into which one?
Temperance Reel.
Temperance Reel. Nice.
I'm glad these girls know how to talk because I'm not too good at it. They used to call me Gabby, but I heard this tune. First time I heard it was on a movie called The Long Riders. If anybody's ever seen that one, it's a movie about Jesse James and Cole Younger and all them. But that's where I heard this tune at. And so I thought, man, that's a pretty good tune to learn for a square dance. So here we go.
Wintercorton?
I love Froggy Wintercorton.
You guys ever heard this song, Froggy Wintercorton? Yeah. Maybe when you were kids. This is the Ozarks version of Froggy Wintercorton that Miss Lillyanne learned in Arkansas, and a lady who sang it kind of similar to this is Almeda Riddle. Has anybody ever heard of Almeda Riddle? Really? She's a lady who, one of the most famous balladeers from the Ozarks, arguably, I'd say she's the most famous. And she sang this song. She was from Heber Springs, Arkansas.
So Pete Seeger talks about her on his
Yeah.
That's what I've heard.
And if you guys have ever heard of the Lomaxes, she's featured in some of like Alan Lomax's CD collections. They were definitely the most famous worldwide of the old folk song collectors. Though I declare things and I don't really know them.
Just make something up.
Okay. Ready? Yeah.
Froggy Wintercorton and he did right, with a sword and a pistol right by his side. He rode right up to Miss Mousie's door, where he'd often been before. Miss Mousie came a-chuckling down, wearing green glass slippers and a golden gown. He took Miss Mousie upon his knee, and he said, Miss Mousie, will you marry me? Kimo-kimo-kimo-kee, way down yonder in a hollow tree, owl and a bat and a bumblebee, King Kong, get you, cameo. Without my Uncle Rat's consent, I would not marry the president. The old rat laughed and shook his sides to think Miss Mousie would be a bride. But what will the wedding supper be? Hominy grits and a black-eyed pea. What more will the wedding supper be? Buttercups and dewdrop tea. Kimo-kimo-kimo-kee, way down yonder in a hollow tree, owl and a bat and a bumblebee, King Kong, get you, cameo. For the wedding day, so they left for the honeymoon right away. Now they live way off in the holler tree, where they enjoy good health and children 3. Kimo-kimo-kimo-kee, way down yonder in a hollow tree, owl and a bat and a bumblebee, King Kong, get you, cameo.
Behind me?
Who was she?
I don't know. I didn't know her very well.
Obviously not, you left her behind.
So, this is, we haven't tried this before, but we really like these songs.
Good song.
And I just thought of this on the way here. So, we're going to try a tune that was supposedly President Washington's favorite march, an old tune called Girl I Left Behind Me, and then an old tune from up north, one called Red Wing. Okay. In the key of G. If anybody wants to play along.
I love it when you sing ballads.
Which one should I sing?
You should sing the one about the little devils getting beat up.
Oh my goodness, this one's one of the best. Has anybody ever heard of the term child ballad? There's a fellow who traveled out east. Actually, I don't really know this for sure, so I shouldn't really be saying it. Anyways, there's a guy whose last name was Child, and he collected lots and lots of songs, so if you ever see it referred to as Child Ballad 432 or Child Ballad 22, those are folk songs that are from England that were sung in Appalachia, and this is one of them. The version I know is called The Devil's Cursed Wife, or The Three Little Devils. And it's a crazy song. Would you mind playing a D for me? Would you mind playing a D note for me? Thank you. I haven't sang this since this summer. There was an old man who lived near hell. I did laugh. He had a little farm and upon it did dwell. Sing high, rattle, ding, day. Oh, the devil came to him one day at his plow. I did laugh. Said, there's one in your family I'll have to have now. Sing high, rattle, ding, day. Oh, it's neither your son nor your daughter I crave. I did laugh. But your old scolding wife, and it's her I must have. Sing high, rattle, ding, day. So he hobbled her up all on his back. I did laugh. And like a bold peddler in a pack in his pack. Sing high, rattle, ding, day. As they drew near the haggots of hell. Hi-diddle-I-fi. Said, rake back the coals, boys, and we'll roast her well. Sing hi-rattle-ding-day. Oh, two little devils come rattling their chains. Hi-diddle-I-fi. She raked back her cudgel and knocked out their brains. Sing hi-rattle-ding-day. Three more little devils peeked over the wall. Hi-diddle-I-fi. Said, take her, Dag-Daddy, or she'll kill us all. Sing hi-rattle-ding-day. So we hobbled her up all on his back. Hi-diddle-I-fi. And like a bolt puller in a pack in her back. Sing hi-rattle-ding-day. Here's your old scolding wife, and it's her I won't have. Hi-diddle-I-fi. She ain't fit for heaven, she can't stay in hell. Sing hi-rattle-ding-day. Oh, the women, they are so much better than men. Hi-diddle-I-fi. When they go to hell, they get sent back again. Sing hi-rattle-ding-day. Oh, let's see. What do you want to do now?
I want to do a song is what I want to do.
You want to do Winter's Coming Gone?
Yes.
You go ahead, and I'll join in.
Oh, okay. I got a tune first. This is a song that was written by Gillian Welch. She's very popular in our kind of music for writing songs that sound like they belong in the 1800s, but obviously are not, because she wrote them. And she's still alive, so she's not from the 1800s, but this is a very popular song that she wrote called Winter's Come and Gone. I apologize, this is not the normal banjo you would use for old time. This is meant for bluegrass, but given that I left the other banjo in Arkansas and I had to be here, this was the only option. So,
What's the big difference?
The big difference is that this one has a really big back. It makes it loud and ringy, and that's what they like in bluegrass. In old time, we have an open back. We like it to sound a little more soft and mellow. It kind of is to mimic the old gut strings, actually, that you would hear in the 1800s. So it's not supposed to sound like this. It's supposed to sound like this, but yeah, but it's okay. I know, I'm grieving the loss of it too right now. It's okay.
Oh, come on, this sounds great.
Thank you.
Amen.
Ready?
Yeah.
Windowsill, been so lonesome, shaking that morning chill. Oh, the redbird, open your mouth and sing. Been so lonesome, just about flown away. So long now I've been out in the rain and snow, but winter's come and gone, ain't little bird told me so. Feathered breast, 5 gold nickels, all that I got left. Oh, the bluebird, what am I gonna do? 5 gold nickels ain't gonna see me through. So long now I've been out in the rain and snow, but winter's come and gone, ain't little bird told me so. Trouble in this heart of mine. Oh, the blackbird sings a worry song, dark as trouble till the winter's come and gone. So long now I've been out in the rain and snow, but winter's come and gone, ain't little bird told me so. So long now I've been out in the rain and snow, but winter's come and gone, ain't little bird told me so. Down in the Arkansas.
Me too.
I love all these songs we're doing tonight, if you haven't noticed.
Has anybody ever heard of Jimmy Driftwood? Whoop whoop. So I know you probably have heard the song that he's famous for writing. In 1814, we took a little trip along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi. Anyways, he was from Timbo, Arkansas, and we're very proud to claim him as an Ozarker. He was also really instrumental in starting the Ozark Folk Center in Mountain View, Arkansas. Has anybody ever been there? Oh, it's lovely. If you ever get the chance to go down, it's amazing. And Lillyanne plays there quite often. Anyways, this is an old-time song, and it was made famous by Jimmy Driftwood, but it's been sung years and years throughout the Ozarks. And actually, has anybody ever traversed through the Max Hunter folk song collection? It's on, good. It's on the Missouri State University website, and it's a collection of old songs from the Ozarks, and it was collected by Max Hunter. He went around, it was like 51 through 78. Does that sound about right? Somewhere around there. And this song's on that collection if you want to hear another version of it. What key did I say we're doing this in?
D.
Okay, let's do it in D.
Sounds good to me.
I had a cow that slobbered bad down in the Arkansas. I took her to my great-granddad way down in the Arkansas. I asked him what to do for it down in the Arkansas. Grandpa said teach that cow to spit way down in the Arkansas. Down in the Arkansas. The sweetest girl I ever saw was down in the Arkansas. I knew a man and his name was Jack down in the Arkansas. He had a hole called a razorback way down in the Arkansas. The strangest thing you'll ever hear down in the Arkansas. He used that hog to shave his beard way down in the Arkansas. Down in the Arkansas. The sweetest girl I ever saw was down in the Arkansas. Arkansas. It makes you a man the day you're born way down in the Arkansas. They court the girls when they're knee-high down in the Arkansas. That's us. Keep on courting till the day they die way down in the Arkansas. Down in the Arkansas. The greatest girl I ever saw was down in the Arkansas. Arkansas. My ma got married to my dad way down in the Arkansas. Grandpa got mad and cussed a while down in the Arkansas, till Grandma said it's the latest style way down in the Arkansas. Down in the Arkansas. The sweetest girl I ever saw was down in the Arkansas. Down in the Arkansas. The sweetest girl I ever saw was down in the Arkansas. This is another old-time tune. And if you ever want to listen to this beautiful young lady some more, you can look up Lillyanne McCool on Spotify. If you ever want to see us old fellers, we'll be down at Shepherd of the Hills Outdoor Drama again this year. And Mr. Dennis will be playing Fiddle and Jake again. And I'll be playing Mandy Ford again. And Lillyanne might join us down there.
Who knows? Anything could happen.
Anything could happen.
I love this song a lot because I learned this while I was at Swananoa, North Carolina, at Warren Wilson College. You know about it? Yeah, it's a great gathering, just a lot of good old time music. But it's where I first heard this song, and I learned that this song actually was traditionally a poem in England, and it came to America and got put to music. And so then there's this fight between England and America as to actually who owns the song. Like, we don't really have more important things to worry about, but that's what we decided to focus on. And but since we won the war, and we did put music to it, and a poem is not really a song until you put music to it. The song part is ours, and the poem part is theirs. So the song belongs to us. The poem, they can keep that. But it's a great song. It's called "The Cuckoo," and I think it was originally written to spite Americans. You'll hear that on the second verse. She warbles as she flies. She'll never holler cuckoo till the 4th day of July. Gonna build me a log cabin on a mountain so high, so I can see Willie as she goes passing by. And she sings so fine. How haunting is her song. How I wish she were mine.
Tunes. Do you want to play Logan's Creek and then another tune?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do that.
Two more? 3 more?
2 songs.
2 more songs? Okay. Well, then let's do Logan's Creek and then Fly Around My Pretty Little Miss. Does that sound good? Okay. Mr. Dennis Pritchard, will you tell them about this song, Logan's Creek?
I wrote this tune about my granddad. He was 60 years old when he went into the Battle of Wilson's Creek in 1861. And they were Logans. His name was Tarleton Logan. So that's where I came up with this tune. So here we go.
Sorry, Mr. This has been such a great time tonight, hasn't it? What wonderful panelists, wonderful hosts. I saw cake back there or something. That's wonderful. And a wonderful audience. Well, we'll do one more song. Thank you guys so much for sitting and listening to us today. Thank you, Lisa and Tom, for having us. It's been so wonderful. The Lisas. Oh my goodness, this is an old play party tune. Has anybody ever heard of play parties? Nice, lovely. So a play party is, well, dancing back in the day was an awful lot like sinning. And so they would do these little moves that kind of looked like dancing, but it wasn't really dancing to music. And so then you can invite your preacher to the party and still do a little bit of kind of dancing stuff. So this is one of those tunes. And actually, that's what your mother told me that your grandmother, Mr. Bruce, sorry, I didn't address you, that how your grandmother met Harold Bell Wright was through a play party at her house. It's a small world.
There's so much history around us.
There is.
Can we do little kind of dance?
Yeah, everybody dance, please. Will you dance a little bit?
I'll dance if y'all dance.
Lily is also an amazing dancer, so just wait.
Don't get their hopes up.
I'll dance a little bit too, but I'm really bad.
Everybody ready? Up grow the cherries, more hug and kiss girls, the sooner they will marry. Fly round my pretty little miss, fly round my daisy, fly round my pretty little miss, you almost drive me crazy. Money grows on the water tree, brew flows of brandy. If I had a sweet little girl, I'd feed her sugar candy. Fly round my pretty little miss, fly round my daisy, fly round my pretty little miss, you almost drive me crazy. Cake for Charlie. Fly round my pretty little miss, fly round my daisy, fly round my pretty little miss, you almost drive me crazy. This has been such a blast. And you can find us on Facebook if you want to. Lillyanne McCool, and I'm Emalee Flatness. I'm about to start a series of folk ballads from Vance Randolph's Ozark's folk song books. So if anybody wants to look up Emalee Flatness, it'll be there. And Lily is all over the place. And me and Mr. Dennis will be at Shepherd of the Hills and Silver Dollar City. Thank you guys so much.
All right. right, everybody. I'm feeling pretty energized right now, so I'm not for sure how I'm going to wind down to start the programs tomorrow at 9 a.m., but I hope that everybody had a great time. Let's go ahead and give another round of applause to all our panelists, moderator, and our musicians. Thank you to our partners at Missouri State University Libraries, Missouri Folk Arts, and the Ozark Studies Institute. Thank you for going on this cave journey. I hope it inspires you to get out and visit the many show caves in the region. And on the back of your passports is a full schedule of everything that's happening tomorrow. So I hope you will join us as we move around Springfield tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.